Hello, I'm Rachel from Douentza Garden in Ireland, and you are very welcome to this, I suppose, April garden tour. Now, oh my goodness, you will not believe what a wet April we have had, and March as well, I believe. It has just rained and rained and rained. I was out weeding in the garden one day and I actually thought I might drown. I guess after a couple of hours the water just gets through everything you wear, even if it is very rainproof. Anyway, today, hey ho, no rain, so I thought I'd give you a quick April garden tour. Before we get going on the garden tour, I would just like to let those of you who are new here know that I garden in what roughly equates to as hardiness zone 9. Now in Ireland we don't use that hardiness zone system that you have in the States, so take it as a rough guide, and that's in terms of how low our temperatures get in the winter. So having put that aside, and having said that it has been so wet, and also with a little conjecture that I have been away, so started a bit late to the gardening game this year, well, enough excuses. Let's go into the garden. Well, what do you think of my edges? I am going to have the sharpest edges in all of Wexford this year, that's for sure. So it's quite early in the season really, things haven't gotten going, and I guess they've been splattered by the rain. I've done a little bit of additional planting in here. You may recognise this teeny tiny little wood anemone that I bought bare root last year. Well, it's done really well and I've just planted it out in the garden. Hopefully it'll fill up this whole space and I'll have these gorgeous little double flowers every spring. It's been so wet that unfortunately, I suppose, semi-succulent plants like this red hot poker coalescens that usually does so well for me. I've had this in the garden for, I think over 10 years, but parts of it have rotted this year and had to be cut off. And I do fear for the more succulent euphorbias as well. And over here, the cherry blossoms, the regular cherry blossoms are just coming into flower. And here's a little pan of this lower section of the garden. For those of you who've been following my fight against box blight, you can see that the buxus are actually doing quite well. There's a lot of new top growth and I, fingers crossed, don't see sign of the blight. I'm going to apply more of the top buxus again this year and just keep going with that because it's a very good fertiliser. As you can see, the magnolias are just going over now, but they really were magnificent. And over here, look how well my cardiocrinum are doing. These are the giant Himalayan lilies, and I think I'm going to have some show this year. So this is my long border and it's in the shape of a giant 3. So just imagine behind me there's one arm and then it comes down here, and this is the middle section of the 3 and then it goes down there. And it's been weeded, it's been edged and it's been fed. And I fed my borders this year with fertiliser from Ocean Leaves, which is a great Irish company that produces fertiliser made from seaweed, and I've been finding it very good. So I was very happy to get that down and know that my plants are then in the best position to grow well. I have a good few ballerina tulips here, which are looking fantastic, a lovely spot of orange. But you know what? I think that I should plant more yellow tulips in this border going forward because it would echo the yellow here of the euonymus bushes. And ballerina is just a fantastic little tulip. Gorgeous colour, gorgeous shape because it's a lily flowered one, and despite being a lily flowered one, it is excellent because it comes back and you'll have it in your garden year on year. Very unusual for the lily flowered ones. Unfortunately, however, I have come across some virus in my tulips. Now you can't see it at the moment because I dug them out. And the problem with a virus in tulips is not only that it affects the tulips, but it will also spread to other things in the same family, like lilies. And I do have a lot of lilies in this border, so I had to dig them out. Now the virus in itself, it looks quite attractive. You might end up with like striped leaves. And because it's sprung up like this is of course an unstable virus, so I needed to get rid of it. Looking good at the moment is this really gorgeous podophyllum that I just love. It of course is really enjoying the wet weather we've been having, and the little pink erythroniums there at its feet that just seed around so prettily in my garden. It's a real bonus. Now I'm over behind the back of my long border, and you can't actually see it from there, but I'm standing on a plastic membrane. And what I have for maintenance purposes in this garden is a strip of plastic here at the back of the border between it and the hedge. It just makes cutting and trimming the hedge that much easier. In this border itself, a good bit of pruning was done during the winter, and this chestnut tree, for example, had a couple of the lower branches removed, just letting more light and air into this border, which of course is what you need for flowering. And of course I recently pruned my hydrangea, which is the plant here on the left, and my cotinus, which is this woody bit there on the right. And this is something that needs to be done every year, and they are going to repay me, well, the cotinus with large leaves and the hydrangea with lots of pretty flowers, and there were separate videos about that. And those of you who followed my projects last autumn will recall how underneath this big pine tree I have relocated a whole load of Virginia from the other side of the garden. Well, the good news is they are doing well so far. Dry shade, of course, is the most difficult of areas to populate with plants, but I think the Virginia are going to do well here longer term. Hopefully they'll grow big and those leaves will fill out all the blank space, so you won't see the soil before very long. Okay, well, it's actually starting to rain a bit now, so I think I'm going to have to cut this video a little bit short. I just wanted again to point out my gorgeous straight edges. You could cut through butter with them, they're so sharp. And I think it's always very nice to have something sharp and man-made almost, because it isn't a natural look, in contrast with soft, romantic, flowing planting. You can't see the planting yet because we're still in spring, but it won't be long before it gets going and gets up there. I see rhododendrons just coming into flower here at the moment, and my favourite of all one, Lady Alice with Fitzwilliam, so I can't wait for that heady scent to ooze around the garden. But before I finish, I treated myself to something this year, so I'm going to take you over now to the other side of the garden, the west side of the garden, to see what I got. And crossing over, a moment to stop and have a look at the tulip display that you saw me put out not very long ago. Now it has been wet, it has been windy, and the tulips have had a bit of a battering. There are some coming into flower, which is great. There are some holding on, and there are some going over. But don't worry, I have a couple more pots in the greenhouse of other things that I will put out soon to just replace what's here. On this side of the garden, the plant that really strikes you is this fantastic Rhododendron Sino Grande, which is having a magnificent flowering this year. My grandson calls this a banana tree, and when we see the flowers there, which are kind of yellow tinged, I think I know where he's coming from. The predominant tulip at this part of the garden is this one called Bleu Aimable. And well, you know what? It's not blue and I don't love it. So welcome to the other side of the garden, and just quickly, because the rain really is coming down, I don't want to wreck my camera, wouldn't be able to make any more videos then, but you'll recall how I recut the lawn last autumn. It was mentioned in my projects video last autumn, and I'm really pleased with the shape. My husband is setting up a bench over there, a seat over there, and the thing I want to show you is right over there. So I invested in 2 of these metal obelisks for this section of the garden, and you may have seen in previous videos how I've always got some kind of bamboo structure here to support the clematis I have here. I got them a bit late. I had to cut the clematis back when they shouldn't be cut back, but never mind, because as you will recall, I've sowed a lot of sweet pea this year, so I am going to grow the sweet pea up these obelisks, and this year we are definitely going to have a whole floral display. They're a good size, like I think they were 160 high, but I had to sink them in the ground to anchor them. And with the result that it's like I'm 5'2", so that's the height it is at the moment. Very pleased with these, very pleased how they look, and very pleased with what they're going to do to this border, which will be full of soft pink planting and with a backdrop of scented sweet pea. I think it's going to be great. Oh, and ground is very stony and difficult to plant in here. I guess mostly because of this hoharia tree, which has sent its roots underneath. So it might have been difficult to get the sweet pea in the ground, except that I've recently invested in an auger, which could be put at the end of a drill. Excellent for planting tulips in autumn, but also sweet pea in spring. Okay, I'm really pushing my luck here, and I had better have mercy on my poor camera in this rain. A very light rain today. When I said it was wet this spring, I did not mean wet like this. Well, this is nothing. This is just a soft day. Anyway, that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll come back for more. And I hope you are looking forward to as well my videos of the jungle in Borneo, where I was recently and had the most marvelous adventures seeing fantastic plants, which I should bring you another video in that series before very long. Hope your spring gardening is going well, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.